All right, so a little bit more. We're gonna stick with the creation. We create. We create our uh, life with our thoughts, but really, our thoughts create the emotions that then create the landscape of our life. That the emotions actually carry the energy, and so we're gonna just talk a little bit about that today. And um, our belief, our concepts about who we are and our place in existence, our worthiness, our lovableness, um, all of that is what defines these things for us. So, really, our entire existence um, lives inside of us and comes out through our emotions. But we have um, the freedom of choice and the ability to create changes. So if you were to think about your thoughts that carry the emotions like these paints, these acrylic paints, and when you have a thought that has an emotion, it pulls off the paint color and it sweeps across the landscape of your life, which is super great if it's the landscape that you want. But if it is, you've decided that red can only be for hearts, and but your heart's been broken, then you might the black might be trying to come out during that. So we we have we have all the creation ability to paint whatever picture we want and to create the change and the best life right now in today, the day that we're living in, and to create our future going forward. And the creation comes out of us. It doesn't happen to us, it comes through us. And that was a big concept for me to get, because life is happening through you. It's not happening to you. We sometimes like to think it's happening to us, especially when it's not super great, but we're the ones creating the energy that's bringing to us what we have, or that's painting on that canvas of our life. Our thoughts and emotions create. And the problem with that is that we have a lot of programmed thoughts and emotions, and they're running in the background. And so we're not understanding why things are not how we think they should be. Right. So that's what all of these lessons now are kind of breaking down, um, where we are, how to discern through our feelings, like the last 2 weeks, what are your thoughts? Um, or what am I feeling inside? We could start with that, like just throughout the day, touch in and say, what am I feeling inside? Am I feeling joyful? Am I feeling all is well? Am I feeling at peace, open, and experiencing life? Or am I feeling heavy, a low level vibration, sadness, anger, all of that? Those are low level emotions. So if I'm feeling those, I definitely want to say, what's the thought that's bringing that emotion up in my life? Right? Because then we look at the thought that's bringing that emotion up, and then we can um, analyze that and move past it, reprogram it, change it, change our perspective about it, because oftentimes it's our perspective that needs to change for our life, our perspective or our um, idea of what we think it means about us. And uh, I had a friend of mine say the other day, like, there's stuff going on and I feel like I'm trapped in a cage. And I said, you're not trapped in a cage, you're just in the wrong perspective. Like, ask for the perspective to see um, your way out. Because when we're looking one way at something, like looking at our life how we've always looked at our life, or looking at our life without any discernment, internal discernment, then we're going to see it as a small space, or we're going to see it how we've always seen it. But when we start saying, I could spin around 180 degrees and look at it from the other direction, and maybe I would see something differently. So getting out of our normal routine and out of our normal rhythm of doing things is a super good for that. Because we, like we talked about before, take a different way home. Don't go home the same way, because you'll be stimulated to open your eyes, to pay attention, to be in the moment that you're in, because you want to figure out where you're going, right? I took a yoga class before. The whole class, all of them, were done with your eyes closed. And you're doing these different moves, and it's kind of like patting your belly and your head, all this kind of stuff. But every time I took the class, I would get a new revelation, because I was present in my body. I was present in the moment. I was tuned in, because you can't see. And so you're now engaged in the moment of life. And in those moments, we can begin to see what we're dragging with us, and we can begin to really enjoy also that this moment, without it being yesterday pressed in, or the burdens that we've placed on ourselves about who we are in our life and all of that. So just to touch on one other thing, oftentimes people, when they start on this journey, a spiritual journey, or coming into an awareness of our high self, and the fact that we are an energy being, we are a spirit being, we are dwelling inside this human body right now. We have been taught and processed through our life that when things happen that we don't like, or things are happening, we think it's happening to us. We think maybe we're being punished. I hear that a lot. Or that we're being taught a lesson in a harsh way. And or backsliding, we're going to backslide. And just clearing that up, no. We are creating our life. We're walking through without intuition, without listening to intuition, oftentimes without being tapped in. Many times we can look back over our life and say, oh, I kind of knew it wasn't going to work out, or I kind of knew this wasn't the one for me, but I wanted it to be the one for me, whatever it is. So we're making our choices, and we have the freedom to choose. We can take time and go in and really discern what's the right thing for us in this moment, or we can plow ahead. There's consequences with each one, but we're not being tortured through our life, or punished along the way, or that we need to suffer. Suffering is part of life, but it's inflicted by us. And it's our perspective about what's going on. And it's our perspective about what we think about it and stuff like that. So because think of yourselves, you who are parents, and you who are animal parents, you would never hurt the creature that you love and created as a lesson. You try to avoid that with all your heart, and they still fall and get hurt, right? And you comfort them, and then you help them not do it again. So the universe is not harsher than we are, right? The universe is all loving, not judging, no duality, no right and wrong, no black and white. The space between you and everything you see is the loving universe looking at you, and there for you, loving you. So just as we grow, as we begin to sift out the patterns from the past, the energy that's muddying the water, then it gets much clearer. And then we move and we grow with joy. We grow with joy, and we grow with peace, and we grow with anticipation, and we don't grow with heaviness, because we're tuned in. We're tuned in, we're hearing, we're participating, we have a relationship that we have cultivated and developed and tapped into. So now we're having a conversation as we move through life, and we're listening, and we're taking action on what we're hearing in our decisions and moving in our life. And along the way of doing that, you'll really notice how much you are trying to control and hold on and maneuver things around to be how you think they should be, instead of surrendering into um, this relationship where that it's participatory. We're not showing up with our concept and idea, we're showing up with our palette and our empty canvas, and we're putting out what's in our heart today, and then we're expanding on that as we evolve and go along, because we're very limited on what we can see, we're very limited on what we can understand. We have our past and this moment, and so whatever we're going to build, we're building out of that, perceptions and ideas and concepts, and an idea of what we think we want. But what we think we want, or where we think we want to go, oftentimes is way less than where we're going to end up, and not nearly as exciting and satisfying as where we're going, trusting in spirit and following spirit and moving in the leading. So we're working through the sifting and sorting, the filtering, choosing our heart truths, choosing our concepts, because whatever it is that we anchor down in is our reality and will become our reality. It's the way it is. It's a beautiful thing when we begin to understand that and participate with it. So what we believe is what we live out in our life, in every aspect. So we have to ask ourselves, are we living from within or without? Am I living my life through my senses? And mostly yes, because we haven't really been taught anything else, and we verify everything through our senses. And so we live from interpretations of what we are experiencing and what we see happening, what we interpret as happening all around us. And so we have been, we've trained ourselves, and we've been trained to live from the outside in. And really, though, we have all the power to live from the inside out, and we can become observers in our life. And when we become observers in our life, we can move things around, we can see clearly without being in the trenches of it emotionally, right? And so we begin to learning, where am I living from if I'm living from within? Because the living from without is all up in here. But what we are, perceptions, concepts, ideas that we're attaching to what we're seeing, smelling, stubbing our toe on, and all of that. So, and each person, each one of us interprets what the senses are telling us based on our individual ideas of what that means, based on our experience, based on our upbringing, our culture, our tribe. So our education, like all of it affects us. So if each individual person there's 5 people standing in the same spot, they're all having a different experience together. So how can that be? Because we're all different. We all have different programming. We all can look at the same thing happening and come up with different emotions about it, different concepts about it, different ideas about interpreting it as it applies to us and other people. So, and all of that will become true for that person, for each individual person. So that, there's power in believing. So, um, learning to become the observer is a great place to be. So if you had a picture of, or not a picture, we've all experienced this, I think. You're out somewhere, a store, a restaurant or something, and somebody's kid's having a meltdown. And if it's not your kid and it's not personal to you, you can just look over there and be like, huh, that kid's having a meltdown, right? And keep moving. But the mother, of course, isn't having is like, oh my God, people are listening and watching, and drag the kid out to the car or something. So that's what's going to happen with your ego mind, your thinking mind, when you start trying to become the observer. Your ego is going to start screaming and carrying on because it doesn't want to have its rightful place within you as a helper. You're a divine being with the ability to think intelligently, make decisions. You're tapped into the universe. Your mind is your helper. And we've escalated it and put it on the throne of our life. And we're like, you're everything that happens, we're running it by you for verification. And we can't even discern the difference anymore between our awareness and our mind. It has become one and the same. And we think that, we're inside our body and inside our head, living our life out. And so as you begin to separate from all of this conversation that's happening and begin to observe it, so you can begin to discern if you want to keep all of it or not, you're going to get a lot of, this is dumb, this is, what's Audrey talking, this is stupid, sit and be still, like, just, tell your brain, go sit down right now. Go sit down right now, we're going to do this over here. So with practice, you will begin to see that you are separate from all of that. And then you can begin to observe your thoughts and observe what you take in without talking about it in your head, or without shouting it out with your brain, and being more aware of your awareness and aware of your environment from that perspective, and not from the perspective of the small space of the mind, which is going to go in its loops and patterns because that's its job. That's its job. So we're going to do a little exercise around that to practice noticing that you can hear, without your brain, and you can smell, and you can see without your brain being front and center. So it's a fun little exercise. So I'm going to have you close your eyes so that you're not distracted. And I want you to put all your attention on one of your ears. Just pick one, but only one ear. So put your attention in your ear. And just notice your ear, notice your tension there. And notice the noise. And you might know what it is. but you don't have to say what it is, right? You're just noticing what you hear, but you don't need to talk about it. You're just noticing it. Okay, so now come back. So do you notice that you can put your attention and you can hear and you can know the sound without calling it out? Like especially like the water over the ice cube or the bell, right? You can hear it, you can know what it is without going into your brain. Yes, no? Okay. Did anybody get that? Okay, so we're going to do another one. Oh, we got a thumbs up. Naja did. Mary Beth. Yes, yes. Okay, so now we're going to do we're going to do another one. So, and this is a little bit creating a little bit more separation. A little bit more separation. So, we're going to close our eyes again and I'm going to say a word and you're going to hear the word. Just notice the word. And then I'm going to do it again in a different way. So close your eyes. And you're going to just hear the word. Plop. 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 Now you're going to notice the word, but you're going to pay attention, put your awareness in the space after the word. Plop. Space. Plop. 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 So did you notice how you can pay attention, you can direct your attention to a sound, and now you can separate and take the same attention that hears the sound and put it in silence. Yes? No.
Because I wasn't paying attention to the second set of sounds.
You weren't
They
paying
were
attention.
happening. I could hear them, but I wasn't listening to them.
There wasn't any sounds. It was just a space.
Yeah, but I was ignoring the sound and listening to the space, I guess.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's like something in the background, you know it's going, but you're not paying attention to it.
Yes. And your attention is now in a space. Like you took your attention off of the noise and put it in a space.
Yes.
Okay. So
It's saying I think because I got meditative music on in the background, but I was able to sound that completely out to focus on the class. And then the space with awareness in between. So I think I was having that same kind of experience.
Yeah, so yes, you can hear and pay attention to what you're hearing, but you can also take the same attention and separate it from what you're hearing. So how can you do that? Because your awareness isn't your thoughts. Like that's a real simple, your awareness is separate from your experience. It heard the sound, it observed the space. It heard the sound, it observed the space. And now we can take that into our life a little bit more. And if I, like when I said before, so the brain's job is to solve problems, to come up with the answer, to dominate the conversation. But if there was none of that need, no problem to solve, like what am I going to have for dinner? I got to pay these bills. You know, all of these, I got to get ready for. If there was none of these things to solve, and that part was quiet, like if that was the plop, what is there? You can take your attention and put it in the space of awareness. And our awareness is observing our life from here, but from a place of neutrality. There aren't any problems to solve. There's no issues with our awareness. Our awareness is a divine being in divine space, and we can learn to live from divine space. And practicing looking at something and not naming it, like like the sunrise. You don't have to go, wow, beautiful sunrise. You can just know it's beautiful and start creating a gap between the conversations that are going on and your authentic being, your awareness. And you can focus on, we can hear and know. You can hear a dog barking and you're like, I know what that is, right? We can participate without running everything through our thinking mind. That we don't need to be talking all the time, right? Does that make sense? Or is it useful, clear?
It does make sense. And it's good to be reminded to keep practicing that all the time, because you fall right back into your talking brain all the time. And sometimes you just have to say, just look over there and be in this space. You don't have to talk about it.
Right. And then pretty soon we start to give more room to our awareness and our loving awareness, and then we have a different perspective organically, because we're giving enough room, or we're going through the exercise of tapping in so that we can be present with our divine self more than we're present with the noise and concepts and ideas and everything else that's up there. Because then we hear the subtle guidance and all of that, where if it's just noisy all the time, it's really hard to hear the still quiet voice of our super polite high self.
I would like to add that it's such a relief when you figure that out, that an ongoing, active, talking mind is no longer necessary to live the life that is for us.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yeah. Because it's really limited on its scope of information that it can provide for you. Really limited. Living out of the past. So, so I want you guys to practice like sitting and listening, listening without attaching, and practice when your mind's like running around, be like, if all of that goes away, what's here for me? What's here for me? And you'll start to connect with your authentic self. It wants to be connected. So it will happen, but we have to make the effort to challenge. And the ego is very sneaky and very subtle, and it will be a little quiet and then come back in. And we still have to clean out the programming. We still have to go in and change the concepts and ideas that are not in line with our authentic being. So that's part of what paying attention to what the conversation is, and then changing the programming, and then creating more and more awareness of our authentic being. And it's a really there's fun practices with this awareness. And when I first started doing it, I was like my brain was like smoke was coming out my ears, because separating and then moving, like you can put your attention up in the corner of the room, and then you can turn around and observe yourself from there. And then you can come back and go through your body to the back of the room, turn around and observe yourself from there. And the brain will freak out. but because we're not contained inside this body, we're living in it now, but our energy is not trapped inside here like prison. It spreads out. When people are people die or people have surgery, people float up and travel around the room and watch everything. That's their awareness of being. It's not because they're in the hospital that's happening. It's because that's what we can do that. And there was a one night I was practicing, and I was like, I'm going to go to the corner of the room, I'm going to turn around and look at myself, and then I'm going to come back, and then I'm going to go out. And then I was like, it hit me all of a sudden. I was looking at my body on the bed, and I said, I was seeing myself as a client, as I would see a client. And I was seeing what my body needed. I was needing some healing practice and healing energy. And I was able to come as my awareness of being and minister healing to my physical body from outside. Right? And then you just get back in. But it is part of our existence that we haven't been taught, right? But practicing it really starts to create a separation between the thoughts and who we are, who and what we are, our divine essence. And then we can begin to sense and feel the difference between the two. And then we choose to be in our awareness of being. We can turn and choose at any moment, oh, I'm feeling a low vibration. I'm not in my awareness of being. I'm going to switch it up and drop right into my awareness of being and begin living from that place. So it's just another way of understanding that we're not our brain and we're not the thoughts that we have, unless we want to be them. So we are going to do a meditation, and we're going to do a practice a little awareness.